Today's topic is on the yoga philosophy, and this yoga philosophy, of course, is very old tradition and in India, and of course, it has its lot of significance in terms of the way we carry on our life. And so, I'm going to explore what exactly this philosophy of yoga means and how one can integrate yoga. And generally, when you talk about yoga, the first thing that comes to our mind is the asanas and the postures and certain acrobatic motions that we do in our life so as to keep ourselves. Well, yes, definitely, that is just a figment of the entire spectrum of yoga philosophy. And yoga is a word that is coming from called yuj. And yuj means to join. Yuj means to join. And joining of what and what actually. So, yoga philosophy goes very deep to understand the very dynamics of human body and how the human body operates and how the human physiology operates and how the human mind operates. And our life is a culmination of lots of samskaras and lots of karmas. And we have taken this form of shape and our mind samskaras because of our previous karmas and previous births, and this, of course, this particular karma that we have taken. So we have a lot of fluidity in our world and a fluidity in our life. The way you can actually shape our life, and yoga is one, you can say, it's both art and science. It is an art because there's a lot of element of understanding the nuances of things and how we can design it, and it has a science because it is very, very classificatory. And it gets into the very anatomy of the human body, and it is also, there's a lot of element of psychology where you're trying to understand how the mind operates. So yoga is actually joining between the Jivatma and the Paramatma. Generally, we are all get identified, and we have a lot of investment in our mind-body complex. So there is something beyond body and beyond mind, and yoga aims at understanding what exactly is the Jivatma and how one can get in the process to understand and join it to the Param and to the Absolute and to the unmanifested. And in that particular process, of course, we'll be gaining a lot of insights. We'll be gaining lot of serenity. And so let's get into how actually yoga started. It has been said that yoga was started by Lord Shiva, and he is the Adinath we are trying to get, and it was given to 7 rishis, which is called as a Sapta Rishi, and then they moved to the different parts of the world, and it happened that India was a ground where it got absorbed, and we don't know exactly what made India such a holy ground, and of course every place across the globe is holy because it is all about nature. But India had that kind of tradition, and India could absorb this yoga, and people has imbibed it. And if you see some of the seals of the Harappan civilization, Indus Valley civilization, in certain seals, this yogic posture was being found. And so yoga is as old as our civilization. We don't know exactly how old it is. It must be anything between 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 years old. And the parampara has gone. So, but one has to really understand that we don't confine ourselves only to the yogic postures, though they are important because yoga is as broad and as deep as ocean. And when you are only doing certain yogic postures, there is just a figment, just a few of the waves that actually you are trying to get into. So yoga deals with both mind, body, and also the soul and the Atman. And a lot of yogic philosophy is coming from Sankhya Yoga. So before I get into the Sankhya Yoga, so let's understand a bit of Indian philosophy. Now, Indian philosophy has 6 schools. That is called 6 schools of Indian philosophy, and that is called Shad Darshan. And so one of them is Sankhya and the Yoga. So Sankhya philosophy has a lot of contribution to the yoga, Sankhya and the yoga. So Sankhya philosophy came from Kapila Muni, and Yoga Sutra or the Yoga Sastra came from Patanjali. So we'll delve into that because that is today's topic. Then we have the third one is Vaishishika, that came from Kannad. And Vaishishika means Vishesh Gyan, Vishesh knowledge. So it is all about atomic theory, and that was given by Kannad. And then we have Naya. Naya is Indian logic, Indian arguments. We understand Naya. And then we have Purva Mimamsa, okay, and we have Uttara Mimamsa. So this is actually the six schools of Indian philosophy. We have Jamini and the Badrayana, who has given this. This is also called as the Vedanta. And of course, Vedanta also has lots of schools. So we are not getting into details into that. So we have Sankhya, we have Yoga, we have Vaishishika, we have Naya, and we have Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. This is six. Other than this six philosophy, we have two more philosophy. One is Jainism. There is Rishabh, and the Mahavira was the last one. And then we have Buddhism, that is Lord Buddha we talk about. And then we have this one, that is the Charvaka philosophy. So it's 6 plus 2 plus 1, total 9 philosophy we are actually getting into. So all these philosophies has one commonality. Every philosophy is talking about liberation. It is talking about salvation. It is talking about kaivalya. It is talking about peace and serenity. And our life, of course, is samsaric, and we're all in this samsara. And this our process and our entire journey in our samsara is not that easy. So can we have some tools so that our journey for 80, 90 or whatever years that we live for, can it be peaceful? Can it be serene? And we can say one of the best, maybe we can say innovation or invention or discovery, whatever you would like to mark it, is yoga in the entire humanity. I mean, that was offered by any rishi or any guru or by any avatar that was being given to humanity. So the question is how much you can take this tool. We all human beings needs a technique or a technology. So yoga is a technology for your soul. Yoga is a technique of your body. So it is all up to us that what can we do with this technology. The word technology is coming from the word called technique, which means a craft. So yoga is a craft, and it is all up to us, and craft of not only the body, craft of the mind, and how much actually you are able to use it. It's quite an arduous process, and it requires certain kind of a discipline. Two important wings of yoga is one is abhyasa, that is practice. It is not that something that we do once in a week or just on Saturday or on Sunday. On holidays we have time, we can do it, and other days of course we are busy with our work. No, that is not yoga. Yoga is something more than that. Abhyasa is something that we do every day and we love it, we enjoy it. That is one. And the second wing is called vairagya. Because if you are only training the body, then only one dimension is getting trained. The other dimension is not getting trained. So yoga is also about mind and body and mind. It is psycho and the soma, and the psyche. Both has to get trained. So 2 weeks. So we are trying to understand abhyasa, which is a practice, and the dimension of vairagya, which is vairagya means it is something like that we are not too attached with too much of things or too much of making things as a dravya. We are not that attracted, because otherwise the mind will have lots of vritti. Okay, yatha yoga anusashana. So that is the first sutra of the yoga sutra of Patanjali. Patanjali, of course, has systematized yoga. Patanjali is not the originator of yoga. The originator of yoga, as we have seen, is coming from Adinath. He is coming from Lord Shiva. Of course, there are a lot of theories if you actually get into the Purans and Indian texts. But definitely, Patanjali has systematized that, and we have Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which has 196 sutras, and they're awesome to really get the way actually things really work. So, Atha Yoga Anusashana talks about way we are able to understand that how it actually works on the mind, and how actually the mind can be trained in terms of our yoga darshan. Now, before we get into the yoga and the core of yoga, let's understand a bit of Sankhya Yoga, which is one of the schools of Indian philosophy. And Sankhya Yoga it is dualistic realism, where it talks about, when I say dualistic realism, it is like it has two components. One of them is absolute, which is called as a consciousness, which is called technically as a Purusha. Another is Prakriti, which is all about things that actually we see around us. And everything that we see around us is a manifestation of Prakriti. And Prakriti is nothing without Purusha. Now, Purusha, what is Purusha? Purusha is a very abstract principle. It can be called as something absolute. It is something which is consciousness, Chaitanya. Now, it is something like this to understand Purusha and the Prakriti. So, let us talk about, say, a light, say a tube light. A tube light is a material manifestation. It is made out of glass and it has certain chemicals inside, but it is of no use. And when electricity passes, it has certain kind of a luminescence, and we are able to have a light. And with that light, we are able to see each other, and the entire room or any places is being lighted because of that. So the light can be called as a Purusha, and the tube light can be called as a Prakriti. The same happens. So Purusha and the Prakriti, and Prakriti, because of its nature, has three gunas or three qualities, that is called Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. And generally, this Sattvic, Tamasic, and Rajasic is actually quite in a equanimous position. And sometimes whenever they get disturbed, then there is the creation. So these are actually some of the final components to understand the very creation. When we are before we get into yoga, we need to understand some of the creation, or the Tattva again. Tattva is the essence. What is exactly the essence we are trying to understand? Sankhya Yoga talks about certain Tattva, and they are 5 gross elements. That is the Panchabhuta, and then it also talks about the 5 Karma Indriya, that is our hands, feet, our speech, our reproduction, and our ejection. So that is 5 Karma Indriya. Jnana Indriya is the way we perceive and the way we know the world. We have eyes, we have ears, we have nose, okay, and the like. And then we have 5 Tan mantras. Tan mantras are the Rupa, Gandha, Sparsha, Rasa, and the Shabda. That is the awaj. That is the noise. Okay, we get into. And then of course, so this 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 is total 20 we have. And of course we have cosmic intelligence, Mahat, and then the Purusha and the Prakriti. So these are all the Tattva. And all this, whether it is gross elements, Panchabhuta, okay, earth, water, air, fire, space, Karma Indriya, Jnana Indriya, and the Tan mantras, all are actually governing our life. Whether it is space, whether it is fire, whether it is earth, whether it is our hands, feet, whether it is our chakshu, whether it is our ear, whether it is our skin, and then of course whether it is Shabda, whether it is our rasa, whether it is rupa, whether it is gandha, and all these things are elemental, fundamental things that governs our life. The question is to what extent we can master them. If we don't master this tattva, then we cannot actually master anything in our life only through the asanas. Now if you understand, there are so many elemental and fundamental things that is governing our life, and they are so elemental and they are so fundamental that they cannot be further broken down into anything further, and they're all required in our life. The question is, yoga is actually trying to make us understand that how we can master all these elements. So only by asanas we cannot master this tattva. So when we actually have a yogic knowledge, we are trying to master all these things. So there comes the very important component of the mind, because if you trying to sit only for 5 minutes in a Padma asana or in a Sukha asana straight, we'll find that there's a lot of difficulty. And there's a lot of difficulty because the problem is not with the body, the problem is with the vritti, is because of the mental fluctuation. So yoga helps us to train our mind so that we can sit. The first thing in yoga is to keep the mind silent, because we are tormented by 2 things. One is asthirata and chanchalata. So because most of the yoga programs are concerning so much on the body from the very beginning, Rather, they should start with the mind. That is a yogic tradition actually. If you go to some other any good yoga studio, any good yoga class, they start with the mind. They don't start with any kind of the body. Breathing and pranayama comes quite later. One cannot start yoga class with the pranayama. It has to start with stilling the mind. And mind stilling is a very easy thing, but it has to be practiced. It can be very tough, it can be very, very easy. So, can human beings, can any individual sit in any particular place, straight spine, for 5 to 10 minutes? And once you are able to master your mind, then you will find that asanas will become much more easier. So many people they start with the Padmasana or Tadasana. You find that sometimes mind is asleep and probably the body is doing the asana, the mind is somewhere. Then we don't get the effect of the yoga. So a bit of knowledge of Sankhya Yoga is important because this Tan Mantra, when it is a Tan Mantra, it is Rupa, it is Gandha, or it is Sparsha. Okay, the very Sparsha of your body with the floor or with the yoga mat itself can cause distraction. Can I be above the yoga mat? Because that may cause certain irritation, that may cause certain allergy. So when Vivekananda used to sit for yoga, he used to sit for hours, and all his friends, when he was very young days, they used to just get up. And how come Vivekananda used to sit so long? He could sit so long because he has mastered his mind. It was Vivekananda who said that if I get another life, I will not get into studies. I will first master my mind, and that is actually yoga. So yoga is trying to control and discipline the mind. There is abhyasa and the abhyasa and the vairagya. And this vairagya is something that happens because we have certain kind of a knowledge and we understand that we are not the body, we are not even the mind. And if you are not the body, then why you are doing the yoga? So that means yoga is beyond the body. But definitely body is an instrument through which we can conquer the mind. Now we say, jina buddha, jin. So if a person who has actually conquered the very ways and the vagaries of the existence. So this is a kind of understanding that how mind plays. So mind can be a slayer and mind is also a friend. Mind is also an enemy. So it is there in the Mundaka Upanishad, these two birds metaphor. One bird is on the above branch, another bird is in the lower branch. The bird in the above branch is about higher consciousness, and the bird at the lower branch is at the lower consciousness. So one bird which is at the top branch is very, very peaceful, and another bird is at the lower branch and trying to eat a lot of fruits which is bitter, which is sweet, or which is in between, and getting totally distracted. And so our mind actually. So once the bird reaches the top branch and he finds that is none other than the same bird actually. So once a person understands that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not my intellect, I am not the manas, I am not the ahamkara. So, and we are trying to layer and delayer and understand that is how, then the lower bird merges with the higher bird. And that is an huge, that is the yoke. That is the joining. So Jivatma is getting connected with the Paramatma. And once we are collected, we are serene and we are useful, then we can achieve a lot of things that actually want. So let's understand one of the important states of our mind, because when you are getting into the study of Yoga Sutra and the Yoga philosophy, we are trying to understand the states of our mind, that is Chitta. Chitta is basically the consciousness. So we have Manas, that is the mind, we have Buddhi, there is the intellect, and we have ahamkara, there is the ego. So one has to, the more we understand that what is operating, mostly the ego is operating, or is the buddhi is operating, or it is the ego is operating. Now it is being said that we have 5 states of chitta, 5 states of consciousness, or 5 states of mind in general, and one of them is mudha, okay, shipta, vikshipta, ekagra, and it is niruddha. So either the mind can be stupid, mind can be dull. So if the mind is dull and the mind is mudha, then of course we are not able to do the yoga properly. Yoga requires certain kind of a stamina, and requires a lot of mental stamina, because to stay and to meditate and to remain still for even for 20 minutes is not a joke, because you are not getting distracted. Just to sit, I'm not talking about meditation. I'm talking just to sit and doing nothing for hours. It itself. That's what Ramana Maharshi is to actually practice. Doing nothing, just sit. That itself requires a lot of patience and it requires a lot of detiksha. So a dull mind cannot actually do that. So it requires a lot of tattva gyan, that yes, I'm practicing stillness. Stillness it is about. Then shifta is distracted. Mind gets distracted. Whether anything happens, the mind tends to fly. The mind is asthir. Mind is chanchal, because we have not trained the mind. And yoga is also our mind is scattered. Our mind is not gathered. So when you train our mind to gather, to get into a gathered state, you're actually also getting into a yoga. Okay, it's our mostly we have almost 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. But if you are able to slow down, even a lot of studies, even in the Western, some of the technical institutes, they say that the slower we breathe, the slower we think, actually, the more we have our lifespan and more healthy we are. Even if you don't do anything, but if there's a mental current of thoughts, then it is very, very stressful. One even can get ulcers because of too much of thinking, and too much of thinking is bad. So one slow down the breathing? Can one slow down the thinking process? That means mind is not scattered. Your mind is working on too many things. So is there any process to still the mind? So that is a gathered state of mind, not a distracted state of mind. Vikshipta is agitated. That is, we are becoming too aggressive. And we think that, yes, we have to do too many things in our life. There's an agitated state. And in that particular state, we tend to get a lot of stress. And then ekagra is a positive state, that is talking about focus state, ekagra. Because after we tame our dull mind, our distracted mind and agitated mind, then we understand what is called ekagra, that is concentration, focus. And that also requires certain element of abhyasa and vairaga from a lot of things, but attachment to something, and which is much more desirous. And lastly, it is niruddha, that is stable and restrained. That's yes, the mind is not getting much of vritti. It is absolutely calm and quiet, but that is difficult to achieve. It is through years of practice one can. So once a person is able to come out of the mudha, shipta, vikshipta, and then towards ekagra and niruddha, then of course to a large extent we are a yogi. So it is not about just asanas. Yes, asanas are instruments, but definitely the mind has also to really go to that particular level. These are the 5 states of the chitta, and then of course we have 5 kleshas. Kleshas are called as a suffering, and they are avidya. It is ahamkara asmita. It is raga, dvesha, and abhinivesh. So let's understand exactly what are they, because if we don't cultivate these 5 sufferings, then we will not be in a position to do the asanas. Okay, we will not be in a position to sit in a sukhasana or in a tadasana or in the padmasana or any asana per se, because it is the mind has to go with the body, and the body has to go with the mind. And if there is a lot of fluctuations, and there's a lot of high level of fluctuations, then of course the body will not it cannot follow. So avidya is ignorance. And what is that ignorance? Ignorance is that everything is permanent. We don't understand that things are impermanent, that one day of course things will get demolished. So asukama sadgamaya. So can I move from the unreality to the reality? Asukama sadgamaya. Tamosama jyotirmaya. Can I get a lot of light, and can I remove my darkness? Can I move to immortality from my mortality? So avidya is something where we have a lot of layers, and I think this kind of a knowledge that we get from the Sanatana Dharma is a different knowledge. It is not kind of knowledge that we generally learn in our other subjects for our living. So this is knowledge about your soul, and that is something that is going to stay with you. So avidya is basically agyani, avidya. So one has to really work a lot to understand what is reality. And all our Upanishads has talked about that it is the Brahman, it is the consciousness. And even modern science, they are coming when Roger Penrose, who recently got Nobel Prize in physics, they are also talking about, yes, consciousness is the ground of all being, and how human being can integrate and come out from mind-body complex and understand that, yes, I am consciousness, I am aham brahmasmi, prajnanam brahman, that's Aitara Upanishad is talking about. So that is the jnana that actually one is aiming for. And again, it requires a lot of tapas. It requires a lot of austerity to get that kind of a knowledge. Ahamkara Asmita is even what Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is considered as one of the great contributor to the field of psychology. He actually divided the mind into three components. He talked about id, ego, and superego. Id is basically our instinctual drive. We are all driven by certain kind of pleasures, certain kind of sleep and tiredness and hunger, and that has to get satisfied. Id, and that consists a large portion of our mind body complex. We have a lot of instincts. Ego is something that is I, me, and mine. Mene kiya. Okay, mene contribute kiya. Mene. So that happens because of narrow focus. Because we don't know that nothing is something that I have done. It is all if I have done something, it is because of cooperation. Even if I'm sitting on a chair, there's a carpenter who has made it. So if I'm using Microsoft Teams or Google, it is because a team that has created that possible. So if I'm able to record, it is because of certain systems, and I have not made any contribution in that. So many kya kiya. You'll find that everything is because if today you had a breakfast because somebody prepared that. Even the bhaji and all came because of the farmers. So we are trying to make our broad, make ourselves broad view. Then you understand that probably I'm just a figment of the entire creation. And once you do that, our very ecology is supporting us. If there is no ecology, of course, we don't get support of anything. The very photosynthesis, the very oxygen. So I'm just a figment of the very entire creation. So once we go from our mind-body complex, we go beyond our skin. We understand that we are just a portion. We are just a dot in the very vastness of the creation. So one has to really account of that. That also is an yogic practice. Then the raga is too much of attachment, and dvesha is too much of detachment. We cannot aversion, we generally say. Okay, one is attachment and aversion. Aversion of something that one should not actually. One should, in the list of doing something, that should be nothing where I'm averse to do something. And abhinivesh is clinging. We cling to something that we don't let leave. And all these elements, whether it is these five components of the chitta, mudha, okay, kishipta, brikshipta, ekagra, this portion has to get developed, and this kleshas has to be mastered. Okay, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesh. And this is creating the ground of yoga. So instead of directly jumping into the asanas, we are trying to create the mind. And we are all walking on a holy ground. Doing yoga is actually walking on a holy ground. And God knows when to give the person, the individual, the actual fruits. We're all walking on a holy ground, and one day we're going to get the fruits. So yoga is basically more like a discipline. Okay, it's more like a discipline. And if you see the two mind states, we have biological mind, we have physical mind, we have sensory mind, and we have temporal mind. Now these minds are very, very generally very active. The other side, you have enlightening mind, we have joyful mind, we have selfless mind, and we have a divine mind. The question is, am I moving from biological mind to the enlightening mind, or physical mind to joyful mind, sensory mind to selfless mind, or temporal mind to divine mind? So it is a fluctuation, and every day it is a struggle, because mind on its own is not going to improve. Mind on its own is not going to do any kind of development. So there has to be a lot of effort, hence abhyasa, hence vairagya. And it is a practice. It is a practice of every day. So yoga is not something that we do someday or sometime. And yoga is continuous. Even our every breath is actually a continuous process. Patanjali, of course, has systematized, and he talks about the 8 limbs, Ashtanga yoga, which is very, very systematic, and it can be classified into two components. One is the Bahiranga, another is the Antaranga. And generally the Bahiranga is the Yama, the Niyama, the Asana, and the Pranayama, and the Pratyahara. So let's talk a bit on this. Yama is actually the ethical and the moral injunction. Yama means trying to hold ourselves in not doing something that we tend to do. Okay, it is Yama. It is like it's the ethical and the moral part of it. So a lot of ethics gets into yoga philosophy also, like ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha. So these are the component of yama. So like ahimsa is non-violence, satya is the truth, asteya is non-stealing, brahmacharya is the purity, and aparigraha is non-possessiveness. Generally, we have a habit of possessiveness. I need to possess this object, that object. I need to buy this, all these things. एक समय आना चाहिए लाइफ में that एक भी तृष्णा आ जाता है कोई भी चीज से, कोई भी द्रव्य से. I don't require it. Probably if I require it, I'll get it actually. Once you have achieved that particular state of mind, and it can happen to any age. Not necessarily it has to happen at the vanaprastha or a sannyasa level. That means you're a yogi. So yogi is not a person who can do fantastic asanas. Yogi is a person also who has developed this kind of a yama. So it's a mind dimension we are getting into. That's what Patanjali who has systematized this yama. And again, this requires a lot of mental culture. One has to culture the mind. It is the nurturing of the mind. Yama. Niyama is the practice part of it. Okay, practice part of that is we are clean, we are satisfying, we are doing certain austerity, we are doing self-study, and of course it is Ishwar Pranidhana. That and from there the devotion, the bhakti mark comes. And can I place God in my life in every day? Okay, can I place God somewhere in my life? And Ishwar Pranidhana. So, and one of the best ways is to have certain kind of an upasana, some kind of worship every day. Whichever religion, whichever God, can be Kul Devata that we follow. Maybe once we can have smaran. Generally, one of the practice most of the Hindus have, that is early in the morning, nahane ke baad tulsi peer pe pani dene ka. So, okay, and you do some Surya Namaskar, or you just pray to God just for 5 minutes. That is a portion of your day is going. And it has been also seen that people who are regularly visiting any religion and they practice religion, they have more immunity, because you go beyond, and it is scientifically proven, because you go beyond your mind-body complex and you are putting your mind to something else, and that something else is larger than life, and that something larger than life actually improves our immunity. So Ishwar Pranidhana, and it is sometimes miracle. Sometimes it happens that you put some problems to your God and say that tera paas mein rakha, tu mujhe leke aaya, you will solve it. And once you have that kind of a love relationship, the bhakti develops. So niyama actually talks about the bhakti. It is a devotion we're getting into. Asana, then the third is asana, where we are actually disciplining our body, because body needs to get disciplined, and certain anatomical structure, because of it doesn't have fluidity, we tend to get distracted. Then the pranayama is the breathing control. Then the pratyahara is like trying to withdraw. It is trying to withdraw, like a tortoise is taking all its limbs inside the shell. So pratyahara is trying to actually withdraw and get into the self, and trying to be with yourself and be contemplative. And you are trying to get into a nivritti marga, trying to be with yourself and trying to be contemplative. And then we have dharana, where we are trying to concentrate. And then dhyana is a meditation, and the extensive form of a dhyana is called a samadhi. Okay, so I repeat, it is yama, that is moral and ethical injunction. Niyama is the practice. Asana is all the postures. Pranayama is the breathing control, because it is breathing that actually maintains and controls our mind. Pratyahara is withdrawing ourselves and trying to become contemplative, trying to become intuitive, and trying to get in touch with our soul. Pratyahara. Dharana is trying to concentrate. Dhyana is the meditation, and samadhi is an extensive form of meditation. So these are the 8 limbs of yoga as given by Patanjali. And also we have also already seen the kleshas and the 5 states of our consciousness. So this is something which is, we are trying to understand the tattva again, and then the practice. So yoga is a tool, and yoga is an embodiment of Satyam, Shivam and Sundaram. And yoga is a technique, it's a craft, it's the technology that helps us to integrate our mind-body complex and makes us so much. So I'll tell you a small story here, then a couple of more things, then we can wrap it up. So it happened that there was a Greek king called Milanda, and there was a Buddhist monk called Nagasena. So it happened that there was a chariot. This chariot metaphor, is there in Bhagavad Gita also, and is there in the Greek philosophy. So the Milanda asked that, are the horses the chariot? And the monk said that no, horses are not the chariot. And then he removed the wheels of the chariot. But are the wheels the chariot? Well, no, the wheels are not the chariot. Then he pointed Is the chase is the chariot? No, the chase is not the chariot. Then where is the chariot? Where is the chariot? What is the chariot, or where is the chariot? So maybe the material realist may say that the chariot is basically the whole thing. So chariot is something which is just like a name that has been given. We don't know exactly. It is a combination of everything that is a chariot. So similarly, so when you say body, is the body the flesh? Is the body the bones? Is the body the organs, or something more than that? So when you are able to strip everything and understand that chariot is basically the name. So similarly, what actually you are is not you are. It is basically the consciousness. And yoga is trying to really touch or get in touch with what is that ultimate consciousness. And once you are able to understand that yes, this is it, and this is not the mind body, but it is the consciousness that makes sense, which actually is yoga's aim. And the second sutra, that is of Yoga Sutra Patanjali, says that yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That is yoga chitta vritti. That is chitta vritti. Chitta vritti is the fluctuations in the mind, and nirodha means to stop it. I'll just read a poetry that I came across, and this second sutra gets actually very close to what actually we are trying to understand. That yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Once we have achieved this, you understand that it is between you and somebody. So listen to this very intently. And the name of the poem is In the Final Analysis. This is the way. In the final analysis, this is the way. People are often unrealistic, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of your ulterior motive. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good that you do today, people may forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it is never be enough. Give the world the best you have anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is between you and God, and never between you and them. Anyway. So this is actually yoga to a large extent, especially the second sutra. There is yoga chitta vritti nirodha. It is between you and God. Anyway. Okay, and that anyway is something that you and you. That is Jivatma and the Paramatma. Once you are able to understand this connection, I think the yoga's job is done. And that is yoga that we are trying to achieve in our life. Thank you, friends.